Hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss with you the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. Certainly some exciting things that have gone on this week in the world of women's basketball, and we'll be covering that in great detail today. Also, a little bit of news out there about some of the potential recruits that are coming into the program, and we'll also have a little bit of time to talk with Daryl this morning, who's back with us, fresh from her honeymoon. So, a fun, action-packed show for you today. As I say, we've got a total of four on board today. Jared is down at the KFC Yum Center today for men's basketball, taking pictures and running around like a Labrador off his leash, as he normally does whenever he's in public. And so the four of us will carry on. Me, Case, Daryl, and Jeff. Let's go ahead and do the introductions. Case will bring you in first. Uh, Having a bit of a time getting on board with us today, were you, sir?
I not from an internet perspective. Internet was working great. Now my computer just decided that my mic didn't exist for some reason, so solved it. I mean, no major problems other than just curious uh, behavior.
Perhaps it's trying to
Schrodinger's mic. You don't know if it's there or not until you try to open it.
Right, exactly.
perhaps it's trying to tell you something.
My mic is in the law of superposition.
So what's been going on with you this week? Fun week?
It's been a busy week. Yeah, I drove to Lexington and back 2 days in a row. Needed to deliver some plans to the health department, which is always fun. Was trying to save the hassle of shipping, just because shipping to the Lexington Health Department is just kind of a headache. Like you don't send it to the same place. That it's there's a whole lot there. But had a meeting scheduled from 3 to 4. Got out a little bit later, so I wasn't able to drop the plans off before. But health department closed at 4:30. I was like, all right, I can make it over there. Roll in at like 4:28 just to walk into the receptionist, saying, well, the department you need is actually temporarily relocated due to renovations. I was like, oh, cool. And then she was like, and they close at 4 anyway. It's like, it's nice. It's not what the website says, but sure. All right. So now I gotta figure out what to do, whether I'm gonna drive back out there or deal with
Our
shipping.
luxurious state government. That drive up to Lexington's boring anyway, God.
It's pretty bland.
Unless you're riding with Jared. Because Jared is not slow on the accelerator. I'll just tell you that offhand. That's about all I'm going to say. And the trip was well made. I had my eyes closed the entire time. Also got Jeff in the house with us. Jeff, another busy week for you, sir?
Yeah, same old, really. But doing stuff, learning, trying out new technology is always fun. So, yeah, same old.
Just another week of being Jeff and watching Louisville sports, huh? Can't beat that.
Yep.
And Daryl is back with us, the honeymoon gal. Welcome back, Daryl. And how did things go?
I'm back, guys. It's been a long month. I feel like a month since I've been on here, just between all the hoopla. Just between, the actual wedding, getting out of town, unpacking the wedding, coming back from town, and then there was this weird storm at 2 days before the wedding, came through my backyard. This little mini tornado picks up my shed, throws it across the yard, and it's just, that's that meme where the little cartoon dog is in the front of the picture smiling and drinking coffee. In the back of the room, everything's on fire, but everything's fine. Everything's fine. So yeah, this is fine. Exactly. I'm glad to be back and home, and everything was okay while we were gone. We were out in Vegas while those storms were coming through. So keeping our eyes on that. Had our cat at home, so we were worried that, power would go out, yada, yada. Luckily, our street's finally melting. Our street has been a solid sheet of ice because it gets zero sun and it finally melted last night a little bit with that rain coming through.
Just
So
in time for all this rain to put down a
even
bunch of
more
water,
stuff headed
put
our
down a
way.
bunch of water, and then not
Yeah.
have the sun come out and evaporate it, and then flash freeze overnight tomorrow night.
Can't wait. Yeah.
Yeah, overnight low of
But
4
UofL is
tomorrow night. In
closed
case anybody's
Monday,
curious.
so luckily I don't have to anticipate driving at least that day.
Yeah, Case, I don't want you to be our meteorologist. You're
Yeah, that was
I-
scary, Case.
I
Your
mean,
Hey.
it's the
forecaster
truth,
here.
though.
I mean,
You don't
yeah.
put it as
Yeah.
fine sounding as Mark Weinberg does.
Oh yeah.
Well,
seriously.
at least I'm not as like sky is falling as Mark Weinberg is about pretty much every other single weather event that happens.
And now it's time for gloom and doom weather with Case Hoskins. Case, make us all feel real
He's
bad.
probably not wrong.
I told you I went to Lexington 2 days in a row this week, and they didn't have, well, they had school because they had to give everybody their Chromebooks, right? JCPS eventually went back this week. Nobody had their Chromebooks because they don't send them home over Christmas break.
Oh my
Lexington didn't
gosh.
send them home over Christmas break, and also Lexington Fayette County urban government does not do plowing on like any of the side streets. So Daryl's street
Yes.
experience was pretty much every
Yeah.
non-major road in Lexington.
I
figure it's
I'm not
because of the
convinced that
park.
Louisville's not the same.
We don't do a ton, but also we changed the busing schedules so like
Yeah.
most people get picked up on regular roads anyway.
Mm.
So either way, I don't think somebody I was talking to was not expecting their kids to go back to a school building for like the entirety of January. Because now you're gonna get that freeze this weekend.
Mm.
I feel like
So, we'll see.
January this is January in this state. Like I've always said, it's so cold and miserable, and that's why we have basketball to make us happy.
Exactly. That is the main reason, Daryl.
And I've got volleyball now, so I'm happy too.
That's right. And
Did you get your tickets to the League One volleyball tournament in
Oh, yeah.
the Youngstown yet?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I bought it while I was at the semifinal game.
Oh, you just went to the ticket office and you were like, "Hey, I would like."
No, I just grabbed my phone. When they announced it there, I was like, "Oh yeah, I want to buy that." So I went ahead and bought it while I was watching the match. So
certainly a lot of fun things to take part in. As for me, I am fortunate in the fact that we live on a road where the grade school and the high school are on out here on Ferndale. So they make prime directive of getting that cleared for passengers and such. So really my big ordeal and issue in trying to get out and do things like going to treatment and stuff like that was negotiating my own driveway. And I don't get out and shovel much anymore. So it was a solid sheet of ice. I think I saw the Louisville Blades semi-pro hockey team out there practicing a couple afternoons. I'm pretty sure it was them. I'm not sure. But, so yeah, the driveway was the hardest part. But Sonia noticed up at the school they had dumped a whole bunch of rock salt on the side of one of the parking lots for no apparent reason. Just this big mound of rock salt right there. So some of it found a way into a couple of buckets we had. I don't know how that happened.
I've been the beneficiary of that as well. Sometimes it's because those salt trucks, when they turn, sometimes it'll just like pour out on the corner. So if they're like turning around in the parking lot, it'll just like dump a huge mound, and they're like, whatever.
Yeah, and this is exactly what it was. Just like, a couple guys just said, "Hey, let's just leave this for anybody here, okay, and go somewhere else." And it was just this small mountain of rock salt at the edge of the parking lot. And so she and her coworkers were able to take advantage of that, and we spread it, and everything's fine now. Our driveway's perfect. But waiting for the next round, as they say. But this one's going to be mostly rain, from what I understand.
Good.
Other than that, other things going well. Trying to get some inroads going on here for some of the spring sports, as we are trying to set up interviews with both Teeter and also with Holly April coming up that we'll have featured, I think, on the website, and which may involve you and I maybe trading a day case.
Okay.
Because if I'm going to do these with Jared on a Friday, we'd kind of maybe like to run them on a Saturday.
Yeah, sure.
and then possibly give you a Monday or Wednesday of mine to take in trade if that's something that we can work out.
Sure.
We'll work on that for sure then. But yeah, excited about that. Excited to talk to both, and then of course we'll offshoot that a little bit here into the radio show or the podcast here as well, and kind of talk about what we talked about and give you a state of the spring sports nation at Louisville, so to speak. But hey, today we got the other fish to fry here. We got basketball going on, and certainly the Cards are out there. They've got 7 in a row now. That's pretty decent. Just kind of some thoughts about this last one here as they took on a Syracuse team who came in here and uh, said, we don't care who you are. We're going to give you a battle, tooth and nail. We're going to fight you the whole way. And they certainly did give Louisville a hell of a game, if you ask my personal opinion on it. This was not a Cardinal dominant win. They basically fought us pretty hard, Daryl.
Yep, like I said, we have basketball to keep us warm in these cold months, and luckily they did that. They saw the men beat Syracuse on Tuesday, and they know that both squads have the active streaks going on. They didn't want to be the one to spoil the party, so they held on in this one, which was I won't say I was ever too worried at any point. I mean, when you go scoreless or without a field goal for like 7 minutes, you get a little worried, but they were able to hold Syracuse pretty scoreless as well. So they those free throws came up clutch there in the fourth quarter. And they got to win and can look ahead to or go on the road this next 3-game series. Still looking hot. One of the best teams in the ACC, and got another big game looming back at the Yum Center in a couple weekends. So they want to stay hot, and they were able to do that, holding one of the most really okay. When I say a player is annoying, that is a good thing. That means that
Because
if
you
they
don't know
were
them personally, so you're not talking about their character.
right, it means if they were on our squad, I would be ecstatic. So they're not, so they are annoying.
Yeah,
Georgia Woolley,
that's a great description.
yeah, Georgia Woolley is that on Syracuse. We were quickly reminded of her tenacious defense, and we'll call it defense. Sometimes it's a little, I think, favorable. Like she ends up on the floor a lot. And it's funny because GoCards.com has her the preview picture for today or this weekend's matchup against Virginia Tech is Woolley on the floor, which she spent a lot of time on the floor. She had a black eye. She had a giant mouthpiece that was just like cartoonish across the court. So she just stands out. She plays hard. It's good for her squad. And luckily the Cards were able to contain her. Because if not, then it would have been a different story. We would have been talking about the not so joy and excitement. But fortunately, got the win. Pretty balanced scoring from the squad, and Coach Walls was pretty happy about that. I think there's still room to grow. Obviously, everybody's got some things that they can continue to work on, especially this time of the year. But they're looking great this time of the year. Like I said, one of the best teams in the ACC, and it's been fun to watch because I think they're at the beginning of the season had that tough schedule. We were worried, what is this team going to do? What are they going to be? Who's going to step up? And it's kind of like the younger players are stepping up when I think sometimes we see a little bit of not so great leadership or dominance by our veteran players. Not to call anyone out, just a little confusion is what I was saying. That's the way I'll put it. But the freshmen are looking good.
I like how you qualified that because I do think we're getting at least some leadership out of some of the much younger players, including some of the freshmen. Yeah, Tosh,
I agree. And the personalities are starting to come out.
Yeah.
Oh, especially show, yeah. And go ahead, Case.
I was just gonna say, if you had told me after each team's conference opener, the men's and the women's teams, that on January 18th they would be in the midst of both being on 7-game win streaks, I would have laughed in your face.
I agree. That is wild.
It's unbelievable for both teams. Like Louisville men's is unbelievable for numerous reasons, right?
Right.
It's incredible. The women's team, like you said, Daryl, at the beginning of the season, that tough schedule, and then the absolute clunker against NC State.
Yes.
We all had real questions about what was going on with this team,
For sure.
and I still have some, right? I mean, I still don't know that we've seen a complete game. The Georgia Tech game was pretty good. Third quarter,
Yeah.
not the best, but I think that Louisville played really well. They only lost that quarter by 4 points, and we were talking about a really good Georgia Tech team at that point. So Louisville's still struggling to find a complete game, even against some of these lower teams in conference. But it feels a lot more like. It certainly feels like we're going to be talking about this team in the NCAA tournament, which maybe not everybody else had questions, but I was a little shaky at some points there in early December. But this team is giving me and I think everybody else a lot more confidence as we play through the schedule. And obviously, we've got some much tougher games coming up. We haven't played Notre Dame yet. We haven't played Duke yet, but I at least feel better after the stretch that they've been on and after the performance against Georgia Tech that they're not going to get run out of the gym in those games like they did against NC State.
Though, for me, I just really want to interject is the 3-point shooting is still not where Coach Wallace seems to be painting a picture of their capabilities. So imagine if that finally starts to fall. He really emphasized it the day before this Syracuse game, saying that it is one of their bread and butters. And they started like 0 for 6 or 7 from 3. Like one of those couldn't fall after you made it a point to hype up the 3-point game from this team. So that's a huge emphasis, I think.
If you take a look at what Julia Williams and Taj Roberts have done since they've got here, and the way that they've kind of stepped in and said, hey, you know what? We're going to try to be kind of like leaders on this team too, because we're pretty decent and we kind of like playing on this team. And if you look at the body of work that both of them have put out this year for the Cards, they have been maybe the most 2 impressive players to me out of everybody we have. And I can say that because I just like the way they came in. And they just immediately said, here we are. We may be freshmen, but we know how to play basketball. Look out, ACC. We're going to show you.
Julia Williams, newcomer to the team, but not a freshman, right?
Yeah, well, newcomer, yeah. I mean,
yeah. She almost had a triple-double against Syracuse.
Yeah.
She had 7 assists, 10 rebounds, and 11 points. She, I think, especially... Taj Roberts, we were just waiting for her to find her stride as an incoming freshman. Julia Williams, I think, has really turned a corner with the performances of late. She was kind of struggling to get going in a Louisville uniform. We had some really high expectations with her coming over from Miami, but recently, yeah, she's been incredible. Like you said, taking on more of a leadership role and. Yeah, just helping drive this renaissance for this winter renaissance for Louisville women's basketball.
I like that. Well, I also think she's really familiar with Louisville. She knows Coach Wallace. She knows what UofL is capable of, and just her in the media room the other night. I don't know how many times she's been in there, but I'm sure this is a culture shock. Like, do you all really think Miami women's basketball is I realize it's on the up and up, and it has been. It's a great program, but like just the media presence, and she was just really excited to be in there and start showing her personality. And Coach Walls mentioned it as well. Like her personality is really starting to come out and try to, and made it a point to tell her not to shy away from showing that, because like that he knows that that's what we love. So I think that I don't know, she's just seeing a lot of attention, and it's helping her convert or get that productivity on the court.
You mean a media presence that's there to talk about quality basketball and not the Cavender twins?
Oh, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, just imagine Haley Van Lith squared.
Oh
That's what
god.
you have down there. Uh, and Julia, I think, was in a situation that the way Sue was using her down at the Hurricanes was as the enforcer and not the glamour rock star. Because she had
Mhm.
the Cavender twins. And
Yep.
Julia had to go in and was just the blue collar, hardworking, dirty girl who got stuff done, didn't take any limelight, just kind of put in her 8 hours, punched out of the clock, and went back home. She got up here and found a whole new world was opened up to her.
Mhm.
A chance where she could be in front of a fan base that appreciated what she could do, to play for a coach that didn't say, I want to focus these two girls and you just play basketball for me. Wall said, I want you to be a part of this. Take it and run. Well, she's taking the bait and run, guys. She really is. And a dead
Yes.
silence hits the crowd.
Yes.
But so sure, that's fine. Physical team, yeah. Syracuse was definitely a physical team, and as Daryl mentioned, they had three players that impressed me a lot. Number 4, number 5, and number 22. Wilson was one of them, and Wilson came in basically and just got down in our paint area and started beating people up. And that's what they brought her in for. That's the way she plays. And she was throwing some punches around. She was uh, not a finesse player for them, but a player that they needed to kind of help clear out that middle a little bit.
Yeah, and this Syracuse team could be one of those teams you don't want to see in the ACC tournament. They could make a
You
little bit of noise.
definitely don't. You definitely don't want to run into them in the tournament. No.
They
And
might also be playing on Tuesday though.
well, that's a possibility.
With their current standings, they're going to need to turn some games around. But they've had a pretty tough schedule. But they're going to pick up some wins if they don't want to play on Tuesday.
Yeah, and is that the way the schedule works on the tournament this year? The first round is Tuesday.
Is that not what it normally is for the women's side?
Traditionally, it used to be
I think
Wednesday.
it is, yeah, like noon.
Oh, maybe it's Wednesday. I meant first day. Sorry, I think the men's first day is always on Tuesday, so maybe I had it backwards a little bit. But yeah, they're going to need to pick up some wins if they don't want to play in that first round game.
And those first round games in my years of going down there to the ACC tournament in Greensboro always had at least one kind of shocker in that first round.
Mm-hmm.
Where somebody maybe came in back in the old days as what the 12th seed or something, and ends up knocking off the 5th seed or something like that. They're coming in and just saying, "Hey, you know what? We came up here for a reason, and we may have 12 fans in the stands, but that doesn't matter. We're going to win this game anyway." I've seen that happen down there so many years.
First day is Wednesday, March 5th.
Yeah, Wednesday. I thought it might be, and then traditionally you have 4 games on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday, the way it used to be, you would
3 games on Wednesday. 4.
Oh, was it 3 and 4? I thought it was 4 and 4.
Yeah, because it's 15, so you end up with an extra bye.
Okay,
now we have 18.
Right.
Now we have 18, but only 15 are going to play.
Oh, they're not changing the format.
No.
Syracuse is going to need to pick up some wins to make the ACC tournament. allow me to reframe my statement. They're currently tied for second to last. There's a lot of games left to play, but Miami, Pitt, Syracuse, all at 1-5. Wake Forest at 0-6. A lot of those teams or 3 of those 4 teams, like you say, are not in currently.
Well, yeah, the 3 bottom teams currently at those 4.
Yeah, because when you actually just and while we're on it, we might as well just talk about it a little bit, taking a look at where the standings are right now in the league, and kind of running down where things are. What we'll do at the top 4 right now are, of course, Notre Dame, still undefeated at 6-0 in the conference, 15-2 overall, and then we kind of fall in there with Duke, and also with NC State with only 1 loss. We've got 6 wins.
We're ahead of them because we have
we have 1 more win than they do. Okay.
Yeah, but
yeah, so it's a percentage victory, Jeff. It's not a
But
we
you are
certainly
absolutely
know,
correct in calling out that it's a single loss. So effectively, we are tied. Yes.
yeah, and we certainly know what NC State did to us to kind of infer that we're the second best team in the conference right now. Nah, I can't make that statement. Uh, NC State basically wrapped us up and sent us off, with postage due.
Yeah, that one hurt.
But then following that, still in the hunt here, still three very strong teams in my opinion too. In California, new to the conference, obviously. North Carolina, always a tough team to play, and then Florida State, all with only 2 losses. So, taking a look at whether they've played 6 or 7 games in conference, and right now it kind of looks like in the top echelon, we're the only one with actual 7 conference games.
I think we're the only
We've not
team
had
in
our
the
bye yet.
conference in the have 7 conference.
Clemson has also not had their bye yet.
Oh yeah, there. Okay, I skipped.
Yeah, Clemson's 3 and 4. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
You're
one of 2 that have not. Yeah.
I can't believe there's 18 teams in this conference. I have to scroll 3 times.
Yeah.
It's hard to get used to, and it's also, I was looking at our road trip coming up here for women's basketball and seeing we're going to SMU. Oh my
Yeah.
God, have we
Yeah.
ever been there? What is this going to be like? Obviously, in a very metropolitan area outside of Dallas, right?
Yeah.
And so certainly, I don't know a thing about their fan base though, guys. I've got to be play innocent here. I don't know really too much about them. Just kind of taking a look at what they've been able to kind of produce in the league so far, and what they've been able to do at 2 and 4. That's not the best, and but as far as the team actually goes, when you take a look at what they've been able to do, they did beat North Carolina. Of course, it was on their court in Dallas, so certainly something that you would think.
I do think it is fair to point out for that NC State game and the loss we took there. That is in what I'm calling the BC portion
Before Christmas.
of our schedule, the before Christmas, versus the AD portion of the schedule after December. So, if we play them again the way we've been playing since the new year started, would that be the same result? I don't know. It would be interesting to see, but what's done is done, and that's what's on the record. So
An interesting factor, Jeff, is we're taking a look here a little bit. Yeah, if we see them again, certainly Wes Moore is going to be very confident about what they did to us the first time. But in going to SMU, and I'm taking a look here, just kind of what they've done as of recent, they're currently on a 2-game losing streak, as it were, and got embarrassed by North Carolina last time out in Dallas, 64-33. So it makes you kind of wonder about their offensive production there a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I think when people think about SMU, they think about the Pony Express first off, and then they think about the end of the Pony Express and what happened there. and then from a Louisville perspective, I think most people think about the Larry Brown era on the men's basketball side, and then the fact that Andy Enfield went there when people were thinking that the USC coach might be the men's basketball head coach here instead. But I don't think anybody really thinks about SMU women's basketball that much.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the volleyball team where you're like, yeah, SMU is going to join the conference. They play these sports, and you're like, oh, see you there.
I'll never get over calling it the Atlantic Coast Conference and then having California in it. I'll never.
California
all coast. It's no ACC stands for All Coast Conference.
Yeah,
right.
yes.
It should be renamed that, yeah, because we've got 2 California
We
representatives.
need to buy it. Cardinal Couple needs to buy that phrase, and then the All Coast Conference would have to buy it from us.
Yeah. Well, if we add Houston to the conference down the line, if the Big 12 folds, we add Houston, or maybe we add Tulane. Then we can add the Gulf Coast, so we will definitely be the All Coast Conference
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point.
But is it going to be called the Gulf of America by then, or the Gulf of
It
Mexico?
doesn't matter. It's just the Gulf. It's still the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
The GC.
We don't
It's
want FGCU though.
It's water. It's wet.
John
you don't-
Tiverton.
Well, you know,
You don't want to add them, seriously?
Too many Florida schools already. Our conference is too Florida heavy.
I want to bring in South Florida just for the reason because Jose Fernandez is still down there, and he's one of the most entertaining coaches I've ever seen. He's great on the sidelines, and especially now that he's got the glasses, he has a consistently bewildered look on his face, like he has no clue what his 5 players are doing out there, and he is just shouting like some rabid fan who's had way too many beers and is yelling at anything that moves. It's like a dog barking in the night. The dog doesn't know what's out there, but the dog thinks there's something out there, and the dog is going to bark just because the dog wants to do that. That's kind of the way he coaches. He's incredulous. He just kind of looks at his players like, "What are you doing? What do you want to run?" So, love him as a coach, though. So much fun to watch. Now that we no longer have Q to portray, he's my new favorite. But it's a team that it's a schedule for Louisville right now. That although it's going to face kind of a crossroads coming up with this 3-game road trip, obviously, never easy to go on the road and play 3 like that, and having to start in Virginia Tech as well could be kind of rough on us. But the real road trip is coming up, in my opinion, if you ask me, when we get into February and we've got to go to FSU and Duke, and right after that we've got to play UNC. That's going to be 3 tough games, 3 very tough games right there.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
yeah, no argument. You're correct.
those are the ones that usually could go either way for the Cards. I think the reputation for us is just brings the best out of those squads against us. And I mean, we've said it forever, and so is Walls. The ACC, you got to fear everybody. There's no easy teams, no laydowns. It's a fight, especially this time of the year.
You know what I don't like about this next game that we have against Virginia Tech? I know that's not the road trip we're talking about. This next game against Virginia Tech. You know, we talk about Kidney Brooks is gone, Georgia Amore's gone, Elizabeth Kitley's gone. Except she's not gone because tomorrow they're retiring her jersey.
We play them. Yeah.
It's like, of course, we have to deal with
the
like
ghost
the ghost of yeah, exactly.
Is haunting.
Because
I saw
everybody
that and I got way more nervous for this game.
Yeah. Everybody knows how well loved she was down there in her town playing there and everything. I mean, they could have run her for Congress and she probably would have won in a landslide. That's how popular she was down there.
I mean, you talk about somebody who's getting their jersey retired right after they graduate. Like, who does that?
Yeah, we haven't done that with anybody in a long time.
I thought that was strange as well. Like, oh my gosh, didn't she just leave?
Like, yeah, it is the season. It is the first season without her, and they're like, no, what? Nobody will ever play as her jersey. That's for sure. So.
She'll be head coach in 3 years at that rate. You know, she'll be running the program.
As soon as she retires for the W, she's like, yes, come here.
But she was an incredible ball player, so you can imagine that place is going to be. In fact, I think I heard it was already a sellout down there for this one. If I heard that correctly.
Yeah, I heard that as well. Yes.
Yeah, I think Walls.
Do you think it was in relation to that, or do you really think like before that was announced? Do you think the Cards were pulling, or the fans were coming out to see them play at UofL as well?
I'm going to say probably a little of both.
I say a little column A, a little column B there.
Yeah. Well, I always love when there's a sellout at Castle Coliseum because then they can ask everybody that's in attendance to turn on the flashlights on their phones so that they can actually have decent lighting.
Dang, Case with all kinds of shade this morning.
I'm looking at this picture on from their preview, like when it's talking about the Liz Kitley night, and just the amount of light being produced by 7 people taking a picture at that time with their phone, and the fact that everybody's phone flash has to turn on to take a picture in that arena. It's like, come on.
Case for the shade, but apparently shade isn't needed in Castle.
You don't
No.
have to shade your eyes. I mean,
Yeah.
There's plenty of shade up there already, Case. They don't need
yeah,
any more.
exactly.
Okay.
Hey.
But yeah, so it should be a fun trip for the Cards. It's definitely an environment where the fan base is very, very pro home team, and they don't basically like Louisville much at all because of the damage we used to do to them back when we had Rick Pitino and some of the other sports. It kind of crosses over. Uh,
We don't like them either.
you know,
Stupid Marcus Vick.
I've only been down there once in my life, okay? And I don't know if any of you all have ever made the trip down there or not, but I got to go once. And it was for a football game. And that was where I ran into the world's greatest tailgate. I swear. It was incredible. We pulled up, and there was a carload of, I think we had 2 carloads. We asked where we could park, and they showed us this little place up on a hill across from the stadium, the football stadium. So we pulled up there, and we parked there, and it was like for $5. It was great. All we had to do is walk down the hill, walk across the field, and go into their football stadium. But out in that field, they had the most incredible tailgate I've ever seen set up. JTM Meats sponsored this thing. It's a big meat, kind of like Fisher's used to be here, a big meat producer in that area of Virginia. Table after table of meat. Incredible. Chicken, pork, steak, hamburgers, you name it. And then all the sides to go with it. Table after table after table. And we're thinking to ourselves, what a great pregame feast this would be. I wonder how much it costs to go through it. And so we walked in. And we asked the guy. And he noticed our Cardinal gear. He looked at us. He said, "It don't cost nothing, son. Just grab yourself a plate and fill up."
It's always nice.
Oh,
Yeah. We hear something in the background, Daryl.
she's whining.
She wants some of that JTM free
She
meat.
wants some of those JTM burgers, doesn't
Yep.
she?
She hears all the talk about the tailgate. She wants in.
Food. I want food.
Oh, and it was incredible. And then, of course, the thing is they didn't have any alcohol with any of it. You were drinking, soft drinks. But that's fine. No problem. That was also the game where I was feeding the band peanuts. That's a long story, but their marching band was set up in the end zone, and they were taunting the Louisville section. And so I started throwing peanuts at them, and they would run out and pick up the peanut and run back into formation. And it was great. It was like trained seals.
Like a herd of squirrels, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Squirrels in uniforms with instruments. Yeah, fun times on the road. But so anyway, a game that the Cards are going to have their challenges with for sure. I don't know, and I haven't done a whole lot of research looking basically at what honestly Virginia Tech has to offer this year. If any of you guys have got any information on them pulled up yet, or see anything on them, let's kind of talk about them a little bit before we move on into some other things. They're certainly a basketball team that lost Kenny Brooks. That's the first thing you can say about them.
Got the same conference record as Georgia Tech, who is unable to arrest their slide, apparently.
Yeah, they did fall in their last game to Virginia, 73-65, and then before that was able to beat Wake Forest, 61-54. From what I've seen, and then they went hog wild on Virginia Tech. I'm looking at the one right after that, 105-94. Wow, that was like, who wants to play defense? None of us.
Yeah.
Well, they were trying to return the defense or return the favor after they were obliterated by Florida State. That's the only term for that. They lost at home 105-74.
Oof.
So, yikes.
And the Cards, the last time they played Virginia Tech, they lost to them by 16 at home. And then the
Well,
Cards are 9-11 on the road against Virginia Tech. So
Liz,
not on
Liz,
the winning
Liz Kitley ain't walking through that door to bar.
side.
Georgia
Yeah, it's
Amore, Georgia
obviously
Amore
a
ain't walking through
completely
that door.
different team.
Yeah,
Completely different.
Kenny Brooks ain't even walking through that door. I mean,
because I'm running down this player list. I'm looking at their players that they've got this year, and I don't recognize any of these names.
Clara Strack. I mean, she's gone too. Some of the names that we think about the most um, from Virginia Tech and our history with them recently, they're not there. Maybe they're graduated. They've transferred out. Um, those two leaving with Kenny Brooks. So yeah, it's going to be a new look team, which, given the history against Virginia Tech, might be good for Louisville, or might not. And they're going to play very differently, and I'm sure that the scout will be there, whether Louisville is following it. We've heard that they have some difficulty with that in the past, but the scout is there. Don't watch the games from the previous 2 seasons because they won't tell you anything. So yeah, we'll have to see.
And just looking at one of their, I guess I don't know if it's a local site, but one of their sites, kind of like Cardinal Couple and what they do as far as reporting on the team on the side, they're already talking about NCAA bid for this team in the tournament. Uh, I don't know if it's kind of early, maybe, for that to happen. In my opinion, we're certainly not ready to talk about anything like that with our team, but they seem to think it's going to be a long grind for this current Virginia Tech team to get into the actual NCAA field. 8 weeks away from Selection Sunday, they still think that there's plenty of times for the Huskies to pick up some more resume building wins, but I don't
They're
know.
currently 56th in the net. So, considering 64 teams are going to make it, and there are going to be a lot of auto bids that are below 56 getting in, yeah, they're going to need to move up.
Charlie Green, who we all know is the bracketologist for women's college basketball in the NCAA and probably does this 365 days a year, has already come up with some potential bracketology. He has Virginia Tech slated to play in the Lexington Regional. So,
as a 12 seed, 13 seed.
I'm trying to take a look here where he's got them in the actual seed. He's got them playing in the in the at the University of Kentucky in the Lexington Regional. I'm trying to figure out where he's got them placed in it though.
He might not have seeded it out just like through 16 teams in each area. But to wrap up on the net rank, Louisville has moved up to 40 after finally picking up that quad 1 win.
And one of
Georgia
the reasons he did it, I think, Case, is to see them match up with Kenny Brooks again and Amore and Strachan.
Sure.
Yeah, that's probably, he just said, let's throw them down there and see what old coach can do against a new coach. Old coach with obviously a much better situation, but
Speaking of that, you know that they're already talking about putting the Cards versus TCU. Like that's already in the prophecy. So
Louisville's a lone quad 1 win, by the way, with Georgia Tech slide that I mentioned. Now in danger of them not having a quad 1 win again. Georgia Tech down to 23, so a little bit more slippage from the Bees, and Louisville will no longer have a quad 1 win.
Yikes.
So fun times ahead for the Cards as they get to go visit on We Love Elizabeth Gitley Day.
It's called Liz Gitley Night. That's what they're calling it. So,
and they are just absolutely gaga over down there. In fact, they wanted. This one article I'm looking at wanted to talk to her about her favorite accomplishment during her career at Virginia Tech. And they asked her, and she said, I have to recognize our Final Four run. She said, I thought that was insanely special.
I mean, that's usually how people feel about Final Four runs.
That's right online there, Elizabeth. Yeah, way to go. Do you know how to get to Blacksburg? That's nice. So, tough test for the Cards, but let's hope that they can pull through it. get the W and then keep amassing the wins up. Certainly.
Yeah. Definitely cannot take a couple losses in this road series.
No, it just wouldn't fare well.
No.
It could definitely be a tide turner as far as any type of postseason play we're going to be into. So, and certainly would ruin our conference standing right now, even though we're not the second best team in the conference, we're second best on standings wise. So, also, Casey wrote a little bit today about a McDonald's All American. Pray tell us about what she's been doing.
Yeah. So incoming power forward for Louisville, Grace, and I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know if the M or the B is silent, or if neither are silent. She's from Kenya originally, so it could be Umbagua. But Grace Umbagua from Danville Christian, nominated as a McDonald's All American. So 805 nominees. Where did I lose my other article there? Yeah, 805 boys and girls nominated for the McDonald's All American game. Which, when you say that, it's like, well, that's a bunch. So, what does it mean to be a nominee? Because only 24 players are going to make each roster. Which, sure, 805 does sound like a lot, but I looked it up, and in 2022, there were 538,446 boys basketball players in high school in the U.S. and 382,419 girls basketball players in high school in the U.S. So 805 of almost a million. That's pretty good still. Umbagua is one of 4 girls from the state of Kentucky to be nominated. So just in general, it's a really big honor just to be nominated. Be even better if she makes that roster. We've seen a lot of Louisville players over the years on both sides play in that game, and it's usually very exciting to get the opportunity to watch it. So I'm excited to see her play for UofL, but also a little unfortunate to see that she wouldn't be able to really chase that state record for rebounds in her career, just because coming off a knee injury. So yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it. The final rosters will be announced later this month, and then we'll know if we'll be able to see her play in that game.
A couple of things come to question and come to mind here. Not to knock the fact that we've got her coming on campus. Obviously, Jeff and the coaching staff saw enough in her to say, hey, let's get her up here and see what she might be able to do for us. But first of all, Danville Christian. Not exactly a high school powerhouse when you come to think about Kentucky women's basketball. Is it a case of where she's down there kind of beating up on weaker teams and building up lauding stats? Makes me wonder about that. Second of all, with the injury, certainly, how well does she come back from it? Knees can be a very, very tricky thing, y'all. Just thoughts on that. Walls is looking at her 6'5", possibly could be in the center role. We've already got a couple of 6'5s on campus that aren't playing center, and the elf is in there battling really, really hard and saying, I may want this job next year.
Well,
Thoughts on that?
I think what they like from her is that she's not only somebody that can play inside. They talked about in the post when they got the signing from her. She's kind of a transitional player, flexible in the power forward position. She can step out, she can hit some threes, which Louisville likes to see from some of their bigs. I think she would be playing a very similar role to what we're seeing from Istanbuloglu Elif. Just go with Elif.
Istanbulu.
Yeah, we'll just go with Elif. Because you also have Isioso Emifidon that we're going to be ready to see stepping into that center role, the more traditional center role, when she's ready. So I think you get that stretch forward, somebody that can knock down shots. And yeah, she's not playing against the strongest competition necessarily, but she still scored 26 points per game last season. She has led the state in rebounds every year. Whether that will hold true this season or not, we will see. But she does have 53 points and 28 rebounds in her first 2 games since coming back from the knee injury. Um, Louisville's post officially says that she finished second in rebounds in the state last year, which is technically true. Um, she had 15.4 rebounds per game last year. The state leader had 17.4, but she only played 5 games. Abigail Brothers only played in 5 games. So even though they only have to have a 2-game minimum to be on this stat sheet, that to me, KHSAA, what are you doing? Like you have teams that are playing, 30 games, at least 25 on average. I think a minimum of 2 to be in the stat leader category is a little low. But um, yeah, I think obviously your questions about what role she'll play on this team are valid. How's she going to recover from the knee injury? That's valid too. But I think that she has shown in her time, not just that she's beating up on other competition, but also that she can step out and make some shots, which usually translates well, and that she'll at least be interesting to follow.
I will also comment here that some of these teams in smaller cities, we'll say that, do tend to travel a lot and to play games against teams all over. And in fact, Danville Christian does have 3 schools from Louisville on their schedule this year. They've already played Ballard and Central, and they actually, all 3 of them they've already played. They just played Assumption on Thursday. So,
So she played in that game at least.
Sure.
Well, she's only played 2 games because she's come back from the knee injury. So
Okay.
she's only played in their 2 most recent games. So she would.
Oh, 2 most recent then. Okay, yeah. So she played against Danville and Assumption then.
Yep.
Yeah, and they play today, 6:00, Boyle County. So
Boyle County, of course, being where Danville is located.
Yeah.
So
but they've got Lincoln County, they've got West Jessamine, Fleming County, Scott County. That's outside of Lexington. Paintsville. They're playing a broad selection of teams here. So
they also offer. I was just looking here to track and field. They've also got volleyball, cross country. So don't see any football for them. So they must not be a very large school. Would be my guess. Maybe kind of like, and the only thing I can really think of comparing it to is maybe what like Portland Christian used to be here, or what Evangel used to be here, a religious-based school that's also offering athletics. I don't see them as a powerhouse, but then again, I could be wrong, and certainly I hope I am wrong, because if the Louisville coaching staff likes her, who am I to say I don't know about her, right?
Well, and just to put a bow on the conversation about the schools at large in the state, there's only one name that's going to jump out of the 4 girls nominated to this game from Kentucky, and that's Sacred Heart.
Yeah.
So Zakiah Johnson from Sacred Heart was a nominee, and then the other 2 are from Sierra Byers from George Rogers Clark, which some people are probably aware of that school, and Leah Macy from Bethlehem. So it's not, it's not Ballard and Mercy, Sacred Heart, Frederick Douglass. What are the other ones that I'm? Lexington Lafayette. It's not your top, necessarily the top schools that some of these really good players are coming out of. So
the actual school itself, in a very, very basketball crazed part of the state down there, I will tell you that.
That's for sure.
they love their hoops down in that part of the country, and will sell out high school games just to come in and watch Danville play Boyle County or somebody like that. Tough contest, and we're seeing it more and more, where these specially designed type of schools that offer a very, very strong religious base behind them, in addition to athletics. Uh, hey, we've dealt with it here for years with the Catholic system. Let's face it: Sacred
and
Heart,
and
Assumption,
you
Mercy.
know, Christian Academy too. That's not
Yeah,
Catholic,
Yeah.
but yeah,
yeah,
KCD
Christian
sometimes.
yeah.
Academy. KCD is more of an egghead school than anything else. They're sending people to Harvard and Yale, and oh yeah, we have sports. If you don't have anything to do in between studying, come on out here and
Yeah, but when you
see.
play them in those sports, like tennis, they're rude.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Tennis, high Q. No, no. But so yeah, it should be fun for the Cards today or tomorrow. Uh, I'm thinking it could be a chance where Walls gets to go pretty deep into the bench. We hope to see that. But before we kind of get into final thoughts, I'm going to throw one at the gang here, kind of at from left field. Uh, we've been playing some very good women's basketball right now. Can you give me, to this point and date, your most outstanding player for Louisville women's basketball?
I'll give you my favorite.
We'll give you time to think about the rest of y'all. Jeff is ready to jump right in there.
Yeah,
Go.
I don't know if necessarily most outstanding, but my favorite is Taj Roberts, and part of that is that we get to have her here for another 3 years. So, given what she's already doing, and plus another 3 years, she's I'm settling into the driver's seat of the Taj Roberts fan bus. So
She is exciting to watch out there, and certainly a
yeah,
great personality too. So I could hardly fault you for that choice, sir.
yeah,
A good pick. Case, how about you?
Yeah, Jeff said he wouldn't go so far as to. He wasn't sure he would go so far as say most outstanding, but I will. I think Taj Roberts has
yeah,
driven the success for
yeah.
this team, which is incredible to see from a freshman. She's quickly becoming a player that she can do what she wants with the ball in her hands. She had a poor shooting night against Syracuse, 0 for 4 from 3-point land, which is a little surprising. But she's also becoming a player that you can't leave open. Um, she's whether she's catch and shoot, spot up, or off the dribble. Uh, she's a player that when the ball goes to her, and she's got space, you're like, yeah, pull. Let's see what's going to happen. Or if she doesn't have space, like I said, she can create off the dribble and hit the lane hard. She plays strong defense. She's everything that I think Louisville was hoping to see from a lot of the players in this incoming freshman class, and
She does still occasionally make a freshman decision or two.
happens.
Yeah,
I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah.
You take the good with the bad.
yeah. She's learning and improving on that. So, but
That's
yeah,
the
still,
best thing
still
that happens
occasionally.
to freshmen. They become sophomores.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Daryl?
I'm still trying to think. I think I'm gonna join the guys and say, like, I don't think they're the most outstanding just because there's not a lot that's standing.
Uh-oh. We lose
Lost
Daryl's
her.
audio.
Did we
Sounds
lose you,
like-
Daryl?
Yeah, she gone. Well, I mean,
yeah,
she's in here, but her mic is no
the
longer.
audio's gone. Yeah.
Until-
I will also say I think
go
another
ahead, sir.
candidate there is Jada Curry.
Certainly can't be disappointed with anything
No.
she's done at all this year. Fantastic on the court for the Cards. I'm going to jump mine in here real quick before Daryl comes back, if Daryl comes back. And I'm going to go with Nyla Harris. Love her game. Love what she's been able to come in and do, working with the kids, the youngsters, and everything, working with O on that front line. And she is just the epitome of going in. Your blue collar worker. She's not flashy about what she does, but she comes in with a gritty determination. She'll routinely take on the toughest guarding assignment we've got in the front line and hold her own against it. She's not going to half, as they say, ass it out there. She's going to give you 100% every time she's on that court, and she'll fight until the battle's over. Just love her game and look forward to the rest of her career.
Yeah, she does contribute in a lot of ways that don't necessarily show up on a stat sheet.
Very good point there.
And
Yeah.
That's
and while we're doing that, I'll throw in too another player that I don't think has been most outstanding so far, but could play her way into that. And it's somebody we talked a lot about earlier with Julia Williams. If she keeps up
Yeah.
what she's been doing most recently, after coming out of a little bit of a slow start for Louisville early on, I could definitely see her taking if she's going to threaten a triple double every game, then it would be hard to
Yeah.
it'd be hard to say that's not outstanding, right?
Right.
And of course, she comes from very, very good breeding lines. If you want to talk about that as far as athletics go, her dad was a pretty decent ball player, eh?
When I was watching the game the other night, they started talking about all the pro players that
Yeah.
Louisville's parentage, and I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like I just didn't even realize it. Like obviously
Yeah.
knew about Zebo, Zach Randolph, but
Yeah.
they were talking about everybody else. I was like, oh yeah. Gilbert Arenas. Yeah, the two that people talked about a lot going into this season because they were freshmen, they were new, but they're like showing Olivia and Nyla and Julia, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, if anything, Olivia's been kind of overshadowed this year by all this, wealth of new and emerging talent that's on the team. She's been the old standard by product we've had here forever. Yeah, there she is. There comes Olivia again. This year, they're kind of jumping up and saying, "Hey, take a look at us too. We're pretty good." And so, let's hope that continues.
I think two things could be very good from that. One, it takes a lot of pressure off of her. I think we saw a lot last year. She was suffering from a bunch of pressure, and early on this year, felt like she was taking on a lot more as that leadership role, a lot more pressure for her, and how it was impacting her negatively on the court. So I think that this can relieve some of that and let her play her game and do what we got used to seeing in the years prior. And also, I think it will take some strain off of her physically. We're not asking her to put in 33 minutes of banging elbows and hips with Liz Kitleys of the world, night in and night out, and I think that will pay dividends as what is a long season goes on.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we have magically rolled up on another noon hour here on the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Still minus Daryl, from what I can tell.
Yeah, I think we lost her.
Yep. Internet connection went boom, perhaps.
Lola took over the microphone and said, "No more for you. It's time to feed me." But we'll move into the final thoughts then for the rest of us here. You want to start us out, Case?
Sure. I don't want to steal Jeff's because I think I know what it is because I saw it on Instagram. Maybe, but yeah, just shout out to the track and field team again, because they continue to do good things. There's a little bit of wrote about it today, a little bit of a rotated team in the Bellarmine Invitational. Some of the big names that we talked about last week, Soledad Jean, Sinclair Savage, Jaden Ulrich didn't participate in yesterday's Bellarmine Invitational, but Louisville still came away with 10 podiums as a team, 8 on the women's side, 4 wins on the women's side. A big day for where did the name go? Maya Fulmer had 2 wins herself, put up personal best in the 60-meter hurdles and tied a personal best in the high jump. Just it's good to see, not just because I talked about last week, Louisville athletes rocketing themselves into the record books, which is just showing the high tide, the rising tide of this program, but also to see the coaches getting the best out of players. Of those 8 podiums and a couple of near misses, almost all of them were personal bests. So just good to see the little track and field continuing to put in the work.
good to be recognized and being other than a throwing school, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yes, indeed. Jeff, what you got for me?
Yeah, I didn't know if any of you all had picked up on this bit of news. Jared and I were texting about it earlier in the week. On Thursday, we got an announcement of yet another professional volleyball league in the U.S.
Oh, this is not what I was thinking.
No, what were you thinking?
They just announced Sofia Maldonado Diaz
Oh yeah,
added
yeah,
to
going
TSO
to
Voluntari in Romania.
in was it Romania? Okay, I thought it was
Yep.
Italy for a second. Okay, I didn't look closely, so yeah. No, I did see that also, but no, the kind of the bigger news overall is yet another professional volleyball league in the U.S. Here. They're going to call it Major League Volleyball because apparently we need four. So,
It feels a lot like the second tier American football, where everybody was just, you had the XFL and the UFL
The
and the
Arena Football
AFL.
League, right?
Everybody
yeah,
just trying to be like, we're going to be the spring football that people watch when they can't watch the NFL. And it's like, are you? Like, nobody cares.
yeah,
But I
it's
think people care about volleyball. But so
yeah.
now you're getting all these leagues that are like, we want to be the one.
The online response to this announcement has we'll say it's not been great. The announcement is a little bit condescending towards some of the other leagues. They're claiming to be, oh, we're gonna be the major league volleyball league, and like everybody's looking at League One, going, yeah, okay, 80% of the U.S. national team is playing in that league in 6 teams. So maybe that claim is a little hollow. I don't know, but anyway, they announced that the intent and plan is to have 10 teams, 10 or more teams, when they launch, which will be next January. They only have ownership set out apparently at this point for two of them. One of them is the Omaha Supernovas that are currently playing in the PVF that they're going to switch over to this other league. So interesting. They did name some states where they do plan to have these teams, including Kentucky. So we may get a team out of this. We'll see. Obviously, there's going to be over the years, over the coming years, there's going to have to be some consolidation of these leagues, one way or another. I mean, athletes at a limited can stay off doing their weirdo stuff over there, but these other three leagues, they're not all going to survive one way or another. There's going to be some consolidation, so it'll be interesting to watch.
I mean, it's not just like it's it's not just condescending to the other volleyball leagues. Like
Yeah.
this is like
Yeah.
approaching arrogance.
Yes.
Like, the league aspires to be the top women's pro sports league in the U.S.
Yeah.
Not just the top volleyball. Like,
Whoa.
yeah, no WNBA, who's actually supported by the NBA.
The
Right.
hell
They're
with
calling out
NFL football?
Yeah, they're calling out WNBA. They're kind of
NWS,
in
NWSL,
NWSL.
like,
Yeah.
they're some of the best
Oh.
players in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
Like,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Those
Yeah.
are pretty lofty goals. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Hey, you gotta have aspirations.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do. We've got high hopes. As for me, I guess final thoughts here. We'll talk a little bit about Taj Roberts and the ordeal that she has been through in the last 2 years. And that's not a bad ordeal. But this is a girl who came from San Diego, and then her senior year said, I'm going to go down and play at this IMGA Academy in Florida, spend a year down there, get the landscape of the land, see who's out there. Oh, Louisville's interested in me. Well, let's go visit there. And so she goes to Louisville. And then when she gets up here, the first thing she does is say, hey, guess what? We're going to Paris. Talk about your travel itinerary. And how did she handle all this as a freshman? When she went to Paris to play UCLA, she was the Cards' leading scorer in that game. Pretty impressive start for a freshman on Jeff Walz's basketball squad. I think that she's got a bright career ahead of her. She's a wonderful person to talk to or to listen talk, as she's done in post games before. And I just think that her star is shining very brightly. And I'm certainly hoping that dreaded evil stepsister NIL does not steal her away from the Cardinals, as it has others in the past. But We love you, Taj. Keep playing, keep rebounding, keep being out there, girl. 5'11" guard that is 7 foot tall in my book. But that'll do it for another week here on the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Thank you all for listening. Hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend. And as always, go Cards.